The Jerusalem Bible, Numbers chapter 8. Yahweh spoke to Moses and said, "Say this to Aaron, when you set up the lamps, the 7 lamps must throw their light towards the front of the lampstand." Aaron saw to this. He set up the lamps to the front of the lampstand, as Yahweh had ordered Moses. The lampstand was worked in beaten gold, including its stem and its petals, which were also of beaten gold. The lampstand had been made according to the pattern Yahweh had shown to Moses. Yahweh spoke to Moses and said, "Separate the Levites from the sons of Israel and purify them. This is how you are to purify them. You must sprinkle them with lustral water, and they must shave their bodies all over and wash their clothing. They will then be clean. They must next take a young bull with the accompanying oblation of fine flour mixed with oil, and you must take a second young bull for a sacrifice for sin. Then bring the Levites before the tent of meeting, and call together the whole community of the sons of Israel. When you have brought the Levites before Yahweh, the sons of Israel must lay their hands on them. Aaron shall then offer the Levites, making the gesture of offering before Yahweh on behalf of the sons of Israel. From that time they will be dedicated to the service of Yahweh. The Levites must then lay their hands on the heads of the bulls, one of which you are to offer as a sacrifice for sin, and the other as a holocaust to Yahweh. This is how the rite of atonement for the Levites is to be performed. Having brought the Levites before Aaron and his sons, you will present them to Yahweh with the gesture of offering. This is how you are to set the Levites apart from the rest of the sons of Israel, so that they may be mine. The Levites will then begin their ministry in the tent of meeting. You must purify them and offer them with the gesture of offering, because they have been made over to me from among the sons of Israel as oblates. They are to replace those who open the womb. All the firstborn of all the sons of Israel I have taken them for my own. All the firstborn among the sons of Israel, man and beast, do indeed belong to me. The day I struck all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I consecrated them to myself. And now, in place of all the firstborn among the sons of Israel, I have taken the Levites. From among the sons of Israel, I give them to Aaron and his sons as oblates, on behalf of the sons of Israel. They will minister in the tent of meeting, and perform the rite of atonement over them, so that none of the sons of Israel may be struck down for approaching the sanctuary. Moses, Aaron, and the whole community of the sons of Israel dealt with the Levites exactly as Yahweh had directed Moses concerning them. This is what the sons of Israel did with them. The Levites purified themselves and washed their clothes, and Aaron presented them with the gesture of offering before Yahweh. Then he performed the rite of atonement over them to purify them. The Levites were then allowed to perform their ministry in the tent of meeting in the presence of Aaron and his sons. As Yahweh had directed Moses concerning the Levites, so it was done to them. Yahweh spoke to Moses and said, "This concerns the Levites. From the age of 25 onwards, the Levite must exercise his ministry and do duty in the tent of meeting. After the age of 50, he is no longer bound to the ministry. He will have no further duties, but he will still help his brothers to ensure the services in the tent of meeting, though he himself will no longer have any ministry. See that this is the rule for the ministry of the Levites. Chapter 9. Yahweh spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the 2nd year after the exodus from Egypt. In the 1st month, he said, "Let the sons of Israel keep the Passover at its appointed time. The 14th day of this month, between the 2 evenings, is the appointed time for you to keep it. You must keep it with all the laws and customs proper to it." Moses gave orders for the sons of Israel to keep the Passover. They kept it in the wilderness of Sinai in the 1st month, on the 14th day of the month, between the 2 evenings. The sons of Israel did exactly as Yahweh had ordered Moses. It happened that certain men had become unclean by touching a dead body. They could not keep the Passover that day. They came the same day to Moses and Aaron and said to them, "We have become unclean by touching a dead body. Why should we be forbidden to bring an offering to Yahweh at the proper time with the rest of the sons of Israel?" Moses answered them, "Wait there till I learn what orders Yahweh gives about you." Yahweh spoke to Moses and said, "Say this to the sons of Israel. If anyone among you or your descendants becomes unclean by touching a dead body, or is on a journey abroad, he can still keep a Passover for Yahweh. Such persons shall keep it at the 2nd month, on the 14th day, between the 2 evenings. They are to eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Nothing of it must be left over until morning, nor must they break any of its bones. They must keep the Passover exactly according to the Paschal ritual. But if anyone who is clean, or who has not had to go on a journey, fails to keep the Passover, he shall be outlawed from his people. He has not brought the offering to Yahweh at the appointed time, and he must bear the burden of his sin. If a stranger is living among you and keeps a Passover for Yahweh, he must keep it in accordance with all the laws and customs of the Passover. This is to be one law among you, for settler and native alike. On the day the tabernacle was set up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, the tent of testimony. From nightfall until morning, it remained over the tabernacle under the appearance of fire. So the cloud covered it continually, at night taking the appearance of fire. Whenever the cloud lifted above the tent, the sons of Israel broke camp. Whenever the cloud halted, there the sons of Israel pitched camp. The sons of Israel set out at the command of Yahweh, and at his command they pitched camp. The people remained encamped as long as the cloud rested on the tabernacle. If the cloud stayed for many days above the tabernacle, the sons of Israel paid worship to Yahweh and did not break camp. But if the cloud happened to stay for only a few days above the tabernacle, they pitched camp at Yahweh's command and broke camp at Yahweh's command. If the cloud happened to remain only from evening to morning, they set out when it was lifted the next morning. Or if it stayed for a whole day and night, they set out only when it lifted. Sometimes it stayed there for 2 days, a month, or a year. However long the cloud stayed above the tabernacle, the sons of Israel remained in camp in the same place. And when it lifted, they set out. At Yahweh's command, they pitched camp, and at Yahweh's command, they broke camp. They paid worship to Yahweh according to the orders which Yahweh had given through Moses. The Jerusalem Bible, Zechariah chapter 2, verse 10 through chapter 4, verse 7. Up, up, and leave the land of the north. It is Yahweh who speaks. For to the four winds of heaven I have scattered you. It is Yahweh who speaks. Zion, up, dweller in Babylon, flee. For Yahweh Sabaoth says this, He whose glory has set me here, as regards the nations who despoiled you. For whoever touches you touches the apple of my eye. See now, I raise my hand over them, for them to be plunder for their slaves. And you will know that Yahweh Sabaoth hath sent me. Sing, rejoice, daughter of Zion, for I am coming to dwell in the middle of you. It is Yahweh who speaks. Many nations will join Yahweh on that day. They will become his people, but he will remain among you, and you will know that Yahweh Sabaoth has sent me to you. But Yahweh will hold Judah as the portion in the Holy Land, and again make Jerusalem his very own. Let all mankind be silent before Yahweh, for he is awaking and is coming from his holy dwelling. Chapter 3. He showed me Joshua the high priest, standing before the angel of Yahweh, with Satan standing on his right to accuse him. The angel of Yahweh said to Satan, May Yahweh rebuke you, Satan, may Yahweh rebuke you. He who has made Jerusalem his very own. Is not this man a brand snatched from the fire? Now Joshua was dressed in dirty clothes, and he stood before the angel of Yahweh. The angel said these words to those who stood by him. Take off his dirty clothes, and clothe him in splendid robes of state, and put a clean turban on his head. They clothed him in splendid robes of state, and put a clean turban on his head. The angel of Yahweh was standing there, and said to him, Look, I have taken away your iniquity from you. The angel of Yahweh then proclaimed to Joshua, Yahweh Sabaoth says this, If you walk in my ways and keep my ordinances, you shall govern my house, and shall watch over my courts, and I will give you free access among those who stand here. For this is the stone which I am placing before Joshua. On this single stone there are 7 eyes, and I myself intend to cut the inscription on it. It is Yahweh Sabaoth who speaks. Now listen, High Priest Joshua, you and the friends who sit before you. For you are men of good omen. I now mean to raise my servant Branch, and I intend to put aside the iniquity of this land in a single day. On that day, it is Yahweh Sabaoth who speaks, you will entertain each other under your vine and fig tree. Chapter 4. The angel who was talking to me came back and roused me as a man is roused from his sleep. And he asked me, What can you see? I answered, As I look, this is what I see. There is a lampstand entirely of gold, with a bowl at the top of it. 7 lamps are on the lampstand, and 7 lips for the lamps on it. By it are 2 olive trees, one to the right of it and the one to the left. Speaking again, I said to the angel who was talking to me, What do these things mean, my Lord? The angel who was talking to me replied, "Do you not know what these things mean?" I said, "No, my Lord." Then he gave me this answer. "These 7 are the eyes of Yahweh. They cover the whole world." In reply to this, I asked him, "What is the meaning of these 2 olive trees to the right and to the left of the lampstand?" Speaking again, I asked him, "What is the meaning of the 2 olive branches pouring the oil through the 2 pipes?" He replied, "Do you not know what these things mean?" I said, "No, my Lord." He said, "These are the 2 anointed ones who stand before the Lord of the whole world." This is the word of Yahweh with regards to Zerubbabel. "Not by might and not by power, but by my Spirit, says Yahweh Sabaoth." What are you, you great mountain, before Zerubbabel? Be a plain. He will pull out the keystone to shouts of blessings, blessings on it. The Jerusalem Bible, 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 6 through 13. These things all happened as warnings for us, not to have wicked lust for forbidden things as they had. Do not become idolaters as some of them did. For Scripture says, after sitting down to eat and drink, the people got up to amuse themselves. We must never fall in sexual immorality. Some of them did, and 23,000 met their downfall in one day. We are not to put the Lord to the test. Some of them did, and they were killed by snakes. You must never complain. Some of them did, and they were killed by the destroyer. All this happened to them as warning, and it is written down to be a lesson for us who are living at the end of the age. The man who thinks he is safe must be careful that he does not fall. The trials that you have had to bear are no more than people normally have. You can trust God not to let you to be tried beyond your strength, and with any trial, He will give you a way out of it and the strength to bear it.